to develop these kinds of structured pathways which lead to greater student success throughout the curriculum. We also believe, as we said earlier, that project management matters, and it's important to ensure that there's an effective rollout of high-impact practices. And we believe that effective innovations plus effective implementation increase student success. And our project management plan, and by the way, we're going to do another webinar on project management and evaluation, so I'm just going to briefly go over this. But when any new innovation is developed at your institution, we use a model called RACIC. And what it means is that the responsible party for implementing the innovation is identified. Who is ultimately accountable for that implementation is also identified. Who needs to support that innovation is brought in to the conversation. Who needs to be informed about it just so they know what's happening because it may affect other things they're doing is also brought in. And then finally, who needs to be consulted in order to make sure that that innovation is successful. So we'll talk about project management in a further webinar, but it's important that the student equity teams, the planning teams, think about if we're going to implement an innovation, we really need to think through what the project management plan will be in order to do so. And then finally, we move on to monitoring and evaluating the effectiveness of the policies and practices. Many of us at IABC are trained evaluators, and we are always surprised at how little evaluation is really occurring. And so it's important that when we measure something, what gets measured really gets done. It points attention to that item. If you don't measure results, you can't tell success from failure. And if you can't see success, you certainly can't reward it. And if you can't reward success, you're probably rewarding failure or rewarding something that you have no idea that works.